Hello, and welcome to
Papi Approved Movies.
My name is Papi.
And I'm Natalie.
In our podcast, we'll review and critique my favorite PG-13 movies.
Movies that I wasn't allowed to watch until I turned 13.
Every other week, Natalie and I will watch a new PG-13 movie.
And I'll see if Papi's movies live up to the hype.
Which, of course, they will.
Today we're going to be watching Back to School.
Before we begin, there will be spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie and don't want it to be spoiled,
Press pause and come back when you're finished. Now, Papi, tell me the deets on this movie.
hey Natalie, how you doing?
Good.
Alright, this movie's gonna get 5 stars because you're in a good mood. Back to School came out in... What? Back to School came out in 1986 with a runtime of 1 hour and 36 minutes. Streaming on Amazon. It was written by Stephen Chapman, William Porter, and P.J. Torokvey, and directed by Alan Metter. Main stars are Rodney Dangerfield, Sally Kellerman, and Burt Young. Fun facts: Rodney Dangerfield, the actor who played Thornton Mellon, is a famous and hilarious comedian. His signature line is, "I don't get no respect." I read he was the first entertainer to have his own website. So he was a trailblazer in the internet community. So what'd you think of the movie?
You know what I've been thinking recently?
Tell me, what have you been thinking recently?
This podcast has been too positive, and I am bringing it down.
Oh no! So 5 stars is not what you're going to give it?
This was a terrible movie.
Terrible, my word.
I found myself thinking, how much longer is this movie going to go on for? And that's usually a pretty bad sign.
Especially
when I start thinking to myself, is this gonna, when is this gonna end?
Especially in a movie that's just barely an hour and a half, right?
Exactly. I felt like, I don't know, it's just awful.
Alright, what do you rate it?
2 stars.
2 stars! Okay. As I was watching this movie, I did come to the realization that the 80s were a very different time. And the movies that were acceptable in the 80s won't necessarily be popular or cool now. And the attitude that Rodney Dangerfield has, especially towards women, it's probably a problem. And I realize you probably wouldn't like the movie.
But not only that, even if I looked past all, the stuff that wouldn't be accepted today, I just wasn't interested. I don't think it was a very interesting story at all.
Yeah, I don't know. I thought it was kind of cool where the dad said, you know what? Because, the son calls him out and says, hey, you didn't graduate college. And he's like, all right, well, let me do it. I'll do it with you, kind of thing. I thought that was kind of cool.
Not really.
Not really.
Would have been cool if he, actually did the college.
But he did. He went to college.
Not really.
At the end, he kind of started getting it.
Yeah, but that's 2 minutes.
Yes, but he learned his lesson that his son taught him, and then he became a better person because of it. He had growth.
No.
The movie ends after his freshman year. So, I don't know. It would have been good if they showed 3 years later, and then they're all graduating. Because do you think he'll continue on? Do you think he'll go to college next year?
Probably not.
No, I think he'd probably call it out. He's going to go back to running his empire and make all these millions of dollars and probably quit school. Although it would have been good if it would have said 3 years later and then they all graduated together.
Why don't we get into the recap?
Okay. Movie begins in 1940. Young Thornton Mellon takes his report card to his father, who's a tailor. His father's disappointed with his grades and tells him that education is everything.
Oh, that's who he was.
He was the little boy in the beginning.
I didn't get that.
Yeah.
I just thought, because he's too old.
What do you mean?
He wasn't that old.
Then it was 45 years later, so, he was 10, so 55. He was older than that. I'm pretty sure he was in his 60s.
I didn't understand that part.
Then we see a montage of Mellon as he gets older and becomes a hugely successful clothing store owner. Tall and fat. There's a big and tall store. Have you ever seen this?
No.
But his was tall and fat, which is a joke based on that other chain. I think about that and go, would I want to go to a store that says that I'm fat? I don't know. I guess if you can't find clothes that fit you properly other places, then you go, this is a good place. It always has sizes for big people. But then isn't it just kind of too degrading? You wouldn't want to go there?
I think that maybe if the person is insecure, but if you're already who you are and all of that, I don't think it would be necessarily. Like, there's this TikTok. There's like, I think it's in China. There's this mall, and like the top first, or no, like a few floors up, like the hard floor, all the names of the stores are like Moo Moo, Fat Girl, Cow. Like, these are the names of the stores.
Okay.
And there's this girl from America, and she went there, and they were like, no, you have to shop up there, even though she was like a medium in America. And she was just found it really hilarious. And she's like, I love all these clothes too, which is funny. Like, I actually like these clothes, and I would genuinely buy clothes from these stores. I just think it's really funny that I'm considered like obese over here.
Yeah, I could see where it's funny to see the comparison in culture, but would you want to do that all the time? You're like, hey, where are you going after? Oh, I'm going to go to Forever 21. You're like, can't go there. I'm going to go to the Tall and Fat store. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if you and your best friend were going to go shopping, and then she's like, hey, let's go to the Tall and Fat. And you're like, I'm a size 2. Like, no. And she's like, well, I can't go to Ashley Madison because I'm not a size 0. So I have to go to a different store. So I don't know. I just thought it was funny. I don't know if I would want to go to a Tall and Fat store. I would be maybe embarrassed.
I don't know.
In present time, Melon is being taken to work in a limo by his chauffeur/bodyguard and best friend Lou. He gets to the board meeting and shows he's a very astute businessman. He gets a call from Jason, who's going to school at Grand Lakes University. Melon asks Jason about how he's doing in his fraternity and on the diving team. Jason lies. He's not actually in a frat, and he's the towel boy on the diving team. Melon invites him to come home for Vanessa, Jason's stepmom, and Thornton's 5th year anniversary. Jason says no. Melon goes home, and he and Vanessa are very rude to each other. At the party, Melon hates it. Everyone is stuck up. He catches Vanessa making out with some guy and yells at her. He makes himself a meatball hoagie and eats it. After the party, Vanessa yells at Melon asking for a divorce because she feels that he embarrassed her. He has the papers ready to go. Melon is sad and decides to go visit Jason. Melon stops at the first frat house he sees and goes in. He accidentally sees a naked girl showering. The cops come and they excuse his crime as an honest mistake. He tips them afterwards. For all those podcast listeners, Natalie is shaking her head in disbelief. She can't even muster the words. Jason and his best friend Derek are on campus and they see Valerie, Jason's crush. They go back to their dorm room and they're surprised by Melon and Lou. Jason takes his dad on a campus tour and comes clean about lying. He says he doesn't fit in and plans to quit school. Melon tells him an education is everything. When Jason calls him out for not having an education himself, Melon decides to enroll immediately. I thought that's nice. I think that'd be cool. They're like, don't quit. You're like, you did. I'm like, all right, you're right. I'm going to put my money where my mouth is. I'm going to enroll and I'm going to crush school. And he does. He crushes school. Although he didn't do very well at school. Talk about his grades later. Melon meets with Dean Martin and asks to be admitted. Dean says no because he's never graduated from high school and doesn't have any SAT scores. Melon then donates a business building to the school and the dean accepts him. At the groundbreaking, Dr. Barbet, head of the business school, voices his disapproval of Melon's admittance. It's enrollment time. Derek and Jason are lined up for astronomy class and they meet up with Valerie. They let her cut in line, and when Chaz, a member of the diving team,
and Karate Kid. Well, he's not Karate Kid, but he's the skeleton.
He's Johnny in the Karate Kid movies. He's the bad guy in the Karate Kid movie. Anyways, Chaz wants to cut, and they say nope. They go book shopping, and Melon buys everyone gifts. He's becoming very popular at the school. They go to their dorm room, and Melon has turned it into a mansion bachelor pad. The first class Melon goes to is Barbet's business class. They're going to create a fictional company, and Melon asks questions which Barbet hates. The next class is Turgeson's history class. He's a little unhinged. Then it's poetry.
He's scary.
It's scary. So that guy's a famous comedian as well, Sam Kinison. And he ends up dying very young. Like his life is like a tragic life. That guy went through a lot of stuff. The next class is poetry with Diane Turner. Melon falls in love with her as she reads a poem from James Joyce. After class, he asks Diane out, and she says she's dating Barbet. Very similar to the movie we watched last week. He asks someone out, and she's dating someone else. The antagonist in the movie. Jason and Melon walk to the pool for some dives. Melon used to be an exhibition diver. He still has it, and people cheer when he makes a dive. The diving team coach talks to Melon, and they both watch Jason dive. He crushes it. Coach said that when he tried out, he wasn't very good. At the library, Jason waits for his dad, who never shows up. Val comes and talks to him about their astronomy class. They walk out together, and they get along. Meanwhile, Melon is at a bar singing and dancing to Twist and Shout. So, that same year, Ferris Bueller's Day Off came out.
Yeah.
And he sang Twist and Shout. So,
That's
like,
what I was thinking of.
Yeah. Kind of funny. Jason and Derek come in after a little while. Then the football team comes in looking for Derek. He was part of a protest that threw paint on the team. Jason stands up for him, and Melon stands up for both of them. He then sicks Lou on them, and it's a battle royale. You like that fight?
I don't understand.
Why don't you understand?
The first thing, I don't understand why everyone was just like, it's a fight. It's time to fight.
I think all bar fights like that, and it's like a movie trope, I think none of it makes sense. We saw The Replacement where they had the bar fight, but it was one team against the other team. And that made sense. But then it was the football team versus Lou. Jason was fighting, but kind of hiding. Melon didn't fight at all. And Derek was fighting. But then everybody else was fighting too. Like
the entire bar was fighting. And I was like, dang, I think these people in the bar need to head to like a rage room or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I always think it's funny because anytime you have a like bar fight and then everyone starts fighting, it's always like a funny action scene in a movie.
That happens with a lot of tropes, like a food fight. If there started being a food fight in the cafeteria, which wouldn't happen because none of us eat in the cafeteria. We all just eat
There
everywhere.
are people in cafeterias that eat.
I know. I'm saying a hypothetical.
Okay.
If there was a food fight in a cafeteria and I was in there, I wouldn't start throwing food. I would just leave.
I'm going to disagree with you because I think a food fight would be amazing fun. And if someone threw food and then you accidentally got a little bit of pickle that hits you in the sleeve, I'm throwing food too because it'll be so much fun to have a food fight.
We're now learning that maybe Papi needs to go to a rage room.
I know. I'm not going to get into a fight with someone. I'm not going to punch someone or get punched in the face. But if I get a little bit of mustard on my t-shirt, I'm throwing a sandwich.
I wouldn't get mustard on my t-shirt. I would leave and I want to eat that sandwich. I'm hungry.
No, you just throw like the pickles that your mom put in there. You don't like, you know what? There's cucumbers. You don't like those. You take them out and just start throwing them like frisbees at people. I would be so much fun.
I would miss.
Huh?
I would miss.
No, you wouldn't. There's a million kids in the cafeteria in these movies.
I'm not trying to get some random stranger.
No, that's the point. You just start throwing it to anyone. You would just throw it to your friends. Yeah, that would be so much fun.
I would leave.
Yeah, I'm not punching some dude. I'm not trying to hurt someone or get hurt, but throwing some popcorn at some dude, that'd be kind of fun. Throwing a juice carton. And they do that all the time at your school. They throw juice cartons all the time. Yeah,
but that's how fights start. I genuinely think a fight started because someone threw a juice box at someone else and it like popped on them and a fight started. Like that genuinely happened at our school.
Yeah, I can believe it. It happens all the time. So if he has like, they were always going throwing those juice boxes. That's what she would say.
And it happened to like a group of girls too, but obviously they didn't fight anyone because they're civil. But
oh, girls are civil.
No,
yes.
like the entire group. It wasn't just one guy. Because the other time it was like one guy threw it at another guy. But it was like an entire group of girls that just like got doused in juice. And it was like an open cup and everything.
Yeah.
It was like a scene from Glee. Like, you know how they do that with the smoothies?
No, I don't watch Glee.
Anyways, so they throw smoothies in the faces of people in Glee. Like, it's like a whole joke in Glee. It was like Glee. Like, that's how it happened at our school. Yeah,
no, I mean, that's like worth fighting. I don't know. You get all dirty. You're like, why would you do that? If it was an accident, then you'd maybe forgive him. But food fight, best time ever. In Diane's class, Melon is called out for not reading his assignments. She talks to him after class and he asks her to tutor him. And she agrees. And Melon invites her to dinner. She's hesitant at first, but she goes. They go out to dinner and have a great time. They go back to her house and hook up. Inappropriate! Jason comes home and tells Melon he made the team. Melon begins to cheat to make the grades. He has a host of people doing his homework. He sends his secretary to take notes, and he even gets an author to come in and do a report on his own writing. He even does Jason's homework. Jason gets mad because he tells him that school isn't to cheat, it's to learn. Swim meet day. Everyone is there. Melon invites Diane to their after party. Jason invites Valerie. And right before Jason's dive, Chaz gets in his head by telling him that his dad bought his place on the team. Jason dives and goes badly.
I don't think he actually, got into his head. I think he just threw off that dive purposefully.
Oh, you think he did it on purpose?
Yeah.
Then why didn't he just quit the team?
No, because it's like telling everyone off. It's like, this is your fault, and everyone is gonna be upset.
I don't know.
It's like to prove like a point.
Okay, I didn't see it that way, but I guess you could see it wrong. I guess that's fine. Yeah. Yeah. So I say he would just dive poorly to get back at his dad. That's what you're saying.
Yeah. And the guy for letting him on the team because he got paid.
At the party, Jason is drunk and belligerent.
Well, because that's what he said. His dad was like, blah, blah, bad jump. And he's like, blah, blah, you paid for my spot. How could you do that?
Yeah, that was later, though.
Not really.
All right. At the party, Jason is drunk and belligerent. Melon goes into a hot tub with 4 girls. Diane shows up and is very disappointed. Val and Chaz show up, and Jason is a jerk and then punches Chaz. Everyone breaks it up. Melon shows up and Jason yells at him for buying his way on the team. Melon denies it, tells him he just wants what's best for him. Jason asks him to stop doing things for him. That's the scene you're talking about. But he doesn't tell his dad, I did it on purpose and I failed.
Well, obviously he's not going to say that. But he brought it up because he was like, you know?
Maybe. We can agree to disagree, as the civilized people say.
It's time for a food fight.
Food fight. I'm going to throw, what do we have? We have no food. We're not allowed to bring food onto the studio, so can't be chomping on things while we're recording. We do have a water bottle. Ian Martin calls Melon into his office where Barbie accuses him of academic fraud. So they come up with an idea of a comprehensive oral test with each of his teachers. If he passes every class, he can stay in school.
You know, I know Barbie's doing what's good, but it's just like, get a hobby, man. Like,
we took his girl.
I guess so. But then also, your girl left you, so.
Yeah, 100%. The girl chose him.
Yeah, so it's not like it's all his fault. If anything, you should just be sad and eat some ice cream.
He was angry about it in the beginning, but wouldn't you be like, he doesn't deserve to be here, but...
You can't really do anything about it.
Yeah, what do you care? And he bought you a building, because it's a business building that he bought.
Yeah.
And he's the business head, so he should be happy. Jason goes home and Melon's all packed up. He thinks he can't pass the test. Jason gives him a pep talk and Melon doesn't give up. Time for a studying montage. 2 studying montages in 2 weeks. This is all in your mind right here as you prepare for school. Coming up. That's why we watch this movie. Back to school, because you just went back to your sophomore year in high school. Everyone helps Melon, even Diane. So she forgave him. There was no makeup there. She just helps him out. Exam day. Melon is in a desk in the middle of a huge room. The exam begins and it's daunting. He starts with business and he does well enough. He finishes with English and crushes. The results will be sent later. At the final swim meet, Jason apologizes to Valerie about punching Jazz and professes his love. She tells him she loves him too, and they kiss. Chaz sees this from afar. Mel enjoys the crew to watch the dive. Jason crushes it because no one's in his head. Then Chaz is next, and he pretends to have a cramp. Coach puts Melon in. Melon does an amazing dive, and they win.
I think this is a plot hole. Diane
comes in and tells him that he passed all his classes. This is my favorite part of the whole movie. All D's and 1 A.
Is D a passing grade?
D is a passing grade. So he got all D's and 1 A. This is the funniest thing I've ever seen.
Is D actually a passing grade?
Yes, you get units for D's. Even in high school. What's your plot hole?
My plot hole is, why would he pretend to have a cramp first of all? That makes no sense.
To ruin the chances of the team for winning.
So you're saying the exact same thing that I said earlier.
Yeah, but Jason's not trying to get back at the team. You're saying he's trying to get back at his dad and coach.
Yeah, the team.
Why would he let his whole team down?
Anyways, so that wouldn't make sense because I think that Jason would just go again and then he'd have more spotlight and then whatever his name is, Chaz, would just be like, man, he sucks. He's so dumb. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
So Chaz does a dive, doesn't do very well. So maybe he got in his own head because he saw Jason and Valerie kissing. And then Jason does a dive. And then Chaz is going to do a second one? That's what I didn't understand. They should have just not had Chaz do a first one in the first place. Or everybody gets 2 dives and we don't know how it works. Graduation day. First time a freshman, Melon, is giving the speech. He tells people to stay at home. Hats fly. The end. I thought it'd be better if it would have been like 3 years later, so we know that they all graduate.
Yeah.
Could this movie still be made today?
No.
Definitely could be made today. There was just a lot of parts that you didn't like, but I could see this where like the father goes back to school to be with his son.
I don't see this being made today.
All right. I can't see what you had any problems with, but go ahead and tell me what problems you found in this movie.
Okay. So, first of all, he sexually harasses a girl.
Yeah. It was an honest mistake when he walked in.
Yeah, but then he just kept going.
He went back in, said, I didn't see anything. Then he opened the screen again and said,
by the way, she's in a shower if you've already forgotten.
Yes. And then he opens it back up and says, you're perfect. That did remind me a little bit of Pitch Perfect. A little less innocent because of the second part that happened. But the guy walked in on her taking a shower as well. But
it wasn't like, in Pitch Perfect, the weird thing was that it was normal. Like, it wasn't like, oops, I'm sorry. Like, he didn't walk on her in Pitch Perfect. He was just talking to her.
So it was even worse.
Yeah, in Pitch Perfect, it was just weird. But in here, it's like, he knows it's wrong and he just keeps doing it.
Yeah, the second time. First time, I get it. Why are you going into the shower to see if Jason's in there? You gonna go see your son naked?
I don't know. Doesn't make sense.
And then the cop said, honest mistake.
And then he pays the cops.
He pays everyone. That's what he always says, right?
He's the reason that the machine at the fair asked me if it wanted tip.
Everybody wants tip now.
I know, even the machine. And there was like a little caption on the top and it was like, would you tip a machine? And there was like a question mark.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh, this is turning dystopian. I don't like what's going on.
You should have taken a picture of that one. That would have been funny.
I was just so confused. I was like, wait, what's going on? Am I dreaming this?
Yeah, you could have been. All right, what else do you have a problem with?
He tells Jason, don't lie to me, lie to girls.
Okay, good line. It's funny though. Don't lie to me, lie to girls. Okay.
The history teacher is like a weird, scary racist.
Yes, very racist. He lives in the time of, I would say like 70s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and then a lot of hate towards the Asian countries we're in war with, or part of war with. Japan, Korea, Vietnam. There's a lot of Asian hate at that time. I mean, yeah. There's Asian hate now, but I don't think it's based upon the war. I just think that people are just ignorant. But at that time, there was a lot of people who hated people from those countries.
Mm-hmm. There's a quote. I don't know who it's by, but it just says, women are so self-absorbed, which is pretty self-explanatory.
All right. Could have been anyone, I guess. Yeah, it was probably Melon, though, right?
Yeah. The female teacher says, after the women's movement, men are too soft.
It's true. It's true. You see, men are soft.
Father.
You need to be tough. You need to be awesome.
It's concerning.
Made of iron, not soft.
It's concerning.
That's why you guys always are so thankful you're girls as opposed to boys, because that would have been like super hard as a dad, you say?
Someone's a sexist.
You're the ones that think that.
Everyone cancel Papi in the comments.
Cancel Natalie approved movies and yeah. Made of iron. I can't help it. I was born that way. Go ahead.
I think you cry the most out of us all.
First off, I haven't never cried. Last time I cried was the doctor that spanked me on the bottom when I was born. Okay? Just so you know. Go ahead.
I mean, it doesn't really make sense because they're already old, but the whole student-teacher relations again.
Yes, I think that's always a problem.
Like, no matter what.
No matter what.
It's awful. And the fact that later she was also the only A and then the rest were
Well, he
Gs.
crushed it, though. He did a really good job. He had memorized the whole poem, and then he had his commentary on it. I think that there's always
seems a little suspicious.
Yeah, I think there's always a power imbalance. And no matter the age, I think that's a problem. I think it's always wrong.
Yeah, so that's still like kind of icky. And then when Chaz is like, I got a cramp, the guy's like, probably menstrual.
Yeah. Always referring men as women is always like a joke that continues to this day at the gym when I play basketball. Happens a lot.
I'm canceling the gym.
Canceling? Yes. You would not want to. If you walked onto the basketball court, Nat, you would think it was
I would start a food fight.
You would start a food fight, and you would think it's 1975 or 86 or 61 or 67. You would think that.
I'm concerned.
Anything else?
There was only a really small quote when, I don't even remember his name, the protester friend like said, Derek was like, look how tight her butt looks today. Like about the girl that he ends up with. Not Derek, but that Jason ends up with later.
Valerie.
Yeah, about Valerie. So it was just like, okay, let's just be quiet.
I don't think we should name this section anymore. Could this movie still be made today? It should be like...
I don't think this movie could be made today.
I think the premise is perfectly fine.
No, well, it wouldn't have an audience.
I disagree.
No one would watch this movie.
If this movie, like if it had, I don't know, like a famous comedian now, Kevin Hart. Oh, you couldn't see Kevin Hart do a movie like this?
No.
Oh, it would be hilarious. Kevin Hart would have his like daughter, because it would be, you know, you're going to add women to movies. No.
Apparently not after Oppenheimer, but whatever.
And we never even seen Oppenheimer. You're like dissing it without seeing it. You can't do that. You have to watch a movie first.
Cancel Oppenheimer.
Cancel Oppenheimer. All right. If Kevin Hart like moved in and he was a rich millionaire or billionaire now, and then he went back to college and then he was kind of like a goofball and couldn't figure things out, I could see that movie totally being made. If it's not being made today, I'd be shocked. I'm going to look it up right now. Yep, it's being made today with Kevin Hart. Probably.
We need a fact checker.
Yeah, we need a fact checker. Anything else?
This isn't about like sadness in the world, but one of them was like, let's make up a fake product. We'll call it widgets, which I find really funny because widgets are a real thing.
Yeah, they are now. Yeah. Well, like on your apps and stuff in your phone?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
I just found it funny. He's like, let's do widgets. And everyone's like, what are widgets? And he's like, I just made it up. And I'm like, that's real.
If someone said that now, they'd be like, you mean like on our phone? You're like, no, not like on your phone, you know?
Yeah.
Because the professor would be old too and he wouldn't even know what a widget is, right? All right. Anything else?
No.
Does it pass the Bechdel test?
No.
All right. Let's find out. Bechdel test is a test to check for female representation in movies. 3 criteria. Criteria number 1, are there 2 or more named females? Mm-hmm. There's Valerie and Diane. Anybody else?
There's one other lady, but I don't remember her name.
Bubbles. The girl that went into the hot tub. That was a joke. He said, we need more bubbles in the hot tub. And then you think that it's the bubbles that you turn on, you know? The jets. And then like this supermodel walks into the hot tub and her name is Bubbles.
I don't even remember this.
Yes, inappropriate scene. Obviously, pass. Criteria number 1. Criteria number 2, do the female characters talk to each other?
Nope.
They don't even see each other, huh?
They don't even interact. They're not even on the same panel together.
Yeah, I don't think they're ever on screen together. And they both serve as love interests for the 2 main leads.
And it could even be like, you know how they have like twin movies and then they're the same actor? Like they would have no problems if all the women were the same.
One was 22 and the other one was 62 or 52.
I'm just saying is they're never seen together.
No, they are not. So it does not pass the Bechdel test.
As to be expected.
As to be expected, yes.
A concerning movie like this one.
Well, it was a 2 stars. It wasn't your worst movie, so it wasn't too bad. It's your favorite movie. No. All right. You had to destroy the podcast momentum of, I think we had 2 4.5 stars in a row or something like that. But that's okay. All right. Anything else before we move on?
No.
Thank you for tuning in to Papi Approved Movies.
If you like this episode, make sure to subscribe, rate, and review on your favorite podcast app or like our podcast on YouTube.
We put out an episode every Monday.
If you want to see extra podcast content, follow our TikTok at Papi Approved Movies.
If you want to suggest a movie for us to watch and critique,
email us at papiapprovedmovies@gmail.com.
That's papiapprovedmovies@gmail.com. No spaces, no caps.
And remember, it has to be PG-13. If you watched to the end of today's video, comment down below the books emoji for back to school.
Next week, Sophia will be back and we'll be watching Great Expectations.
And I'll be back in 2 weeks to watch Ready Player One.
I'm Papi.
And I'm Natalie.
See you next time.
Bye!